My name is Kozlov, and I'm a JetBrains employee, and I'm currently working on Dotty support for IntelliJ IDEA for Scala. Thank you for joining us. And also, I'd like to thank Scala Days committee for giving me an opportunity to give a talk today. It's such a big honor for me to be today on this stage. So, first of all, remember to vote. It's very important for us to have some feedback. So, let's get it started. Here is some basic information about me. My name is Kozlov. As I mentioned, I'm an UpSource X developer at JetBrains. If you don't know what UpSource is, it's a code review tool that was released about a year ago. But then I fell in love with Scala, and so here I am. And my email and my Twitter handle. Let's get started with a little warm-up. So I've got some questions for you. First of all, who uses IntelliJ as an everyday IDE? Okay, good. Eclipse? Anybody? Yeah, okay. Vim or Emacs? Oh, yeah. Who has any experience with Dotty? I'm very curious. Hello World is included, something like that. Okay. Have you used IntelliJ for Dotty when you tried it? Okay, yeah, that's good. The point of my today's talk is that we'd like to make an official announcement that we are going to give Dotty full support in IntelliJ. The decision was made shortly after the news that Dotty compiler bootstraps on October 23rd. And the announcement contained a list of problems and next steps, and IDE support was one of them, so we decided to give Dotty a try. So, I decided to use this tweet as an hypergraph for my speech. I have seen this tweet 2 hours later than several Dotty related commits have been pushed. It was very funny for me because obviously it doesn't have billions of favorites and retweets, this one. But why do we find this tweet important? Because first of all, it shows interest to our work. Thank you, your interest is appreciated. But moreover, it indicates a community interest in Dotty. So, okay, I would like to again, here we go. So let's create a Dotty project. I cannot extend the size of the window, but here you can put the Dotty SDK, and you can create it and download it automatically. So I have already downloaded it on my laptop, so I don't need it. And click Finish. And here we go. So, there are two options to try Dotty. The first one is Scala worksheet. It's not very famous feature, but let's give it a try. Test, and we can just write code right here. Yeah, okay. So something like Okay. So we can see that it works, but you can maybe see some red code in Dotty. It's quite usual, so don't think about it. So let me show. The Dotty type system is under construction, so sometimes one day we will show you the good stuff. So, but let's give it a try just now. So this is something usual, more usual, main. We can, for example, build our project 42 and run it. Okay, here's 42, everything. So let me show you some Dotty specific stuff. We have seen it here, the type union, but there are some other features that were released at Scala Days in New York City. So we decided to support them before Berlin, and here we go. The first feature is trait parameters, so you can write something like this, and something like this. So we have already a resolution of names. So let me override this method. With something like this. And run it. So everything is okay. You cannot write this code in Scala as far as you know. For example, we can rebuild it and rerun it, and everything is okay. The killing feature before Berlin was incremental compilation, but now Dotty supports incremental compilation with SBT, so now you can use that our project model, the IDEA one, and the SBT one. So as far as you can see, everything works fine. This trait has implementation. This one, you can find usages. You can find usages of this trait, extends, implements, so something like this. And I think back to presentation. Yeah. Most of the features that I have shown are in native and nightly builds. The only one feature that is not included yet is trait parameters. Unpredictably, it became quite complicated to adapt our plugin, but I think we'll release it in a week or 2 weeks in a good condition. So, and the next slide is new language, new plugin. The basic approach is to support a new language in IntelliJ IDEA is to create a new plugin. It's quite straightforward and very simple. But why we do like this? In general, it seems obvious. Every language has its own grammar, type system, set of features, concepts, and something like that. So the reasons for a new plugin are on this slide. But what we're going to do if the languages are similar, something like dialects. Are there any languages with dialects? Yeah, the first one is there is one, and it's called SQL. But it's well known that SQL has dialects, many dialects. So when SQL plugin have been created, the developers have known that fact, and the architecture was that it should be simple to use dialects in that plugin and support them. The SQL plugin became into a data group, as maybe you know, and the data group is IDE for databases, and it was released a few months ago. But the problem was that nobody have known that Scala would have some dialects. So, what we were forced to do. Here's a list of compiler phases that we should re-implement in our plugin. The main problem is that we cannot use the compiler inside the plugin. The first one, lexical analysis, but we can use the lexical analysis from Scala. The next one is syntax analysis, and as you know, there are new types, new features, so we need to extend our syntax analyzer, our parser. The next one is desegregation. It's very funny because who knows that Scala doesn't support something like functional types natively, so that it uses generic types to work with them. Who knows it? Not so many of you. In Dotty there are a lot of desegregation, and first of all in the type system, we shall re-implement them in our plugin. So the next one is type inference. We need to re-implement the conformance algorithm, the equivalence algorithm, and bounds founding algorithm, and something like that. And the next one is implicit resolution, but in general, it seems that we don't need to re-implement it, but after we will be done with the type system, we'll see. In the context of Dotty, the main problem and the most interesting thing is type inference and type system in general. So let's talk about our goals. So we extracted a lot of interfaces for compiler phases, and now we can register implementations for them, and it gives us an opportunity to implement some features very quickly. For example, parser for new features, and to adapt our plugin for Dotty. The first idea is to give you an opportunity to even compile your code with Dotty, because if IDEA will complain about some syntax stuff, you will be not able to do it. The next goal was to re-implement the type system. We are working on it right now, so we have some funny results. But what we have found out that we created a plugin for our plugin, and we need to go deeper. Now we have some base features, some core features in our plugin, and 2 or maybe even 3 plugins for Scala, for SBT, and for Dotty. And it is very interesting, I think, this approach. So, about type system, maybe not of you know something like this. Intersection and union types were added to type system, the example I have already given. And there are a lot of features that were removed from the type system. The main idea was like that. The linear increment of number of features, it implies the exponential complexity growth of the type system in general. So generic type parameters were removed. They are now only a syntax sugar for abstract type members. And existential types were removed. High cadence types were removed. And all of these concepts were replaced with just one. And it is very, very, very cool. And not only the compiler developers have less work, but we also, because there are not so many features in type systems, so it's quite it's much more simpler to implement it in our plugin. So, and now I'd like to say something about the roadmap and our future plans and about Dotty. The first question is, what is Dotty for us? The answer is that Dotty is an opportunity. For language developers, Dotty is an opportunity to develop and to improve the language, make it more simple, make it faster, make the compilation process faster. The Dotty in general is a platform that gives you an opportunity to experiment with some language features. Same rules apply for us. Dotty is an opportunity to review our code base of our plugin, to re-implement some features, not even in Dotty, but in Scala. Some processes, make it more extendable, and even to get rid of some legacy code. Also, Dotty is a motivation. To be honest, we have a lack of motivation to change some plugin models. Because syntax, well, the good example is syntax analysis. It works fine, nobody wants to even touch it, and why? But when we decided to support Dotty, there was an idea that to update our parser in such a so let me speak in this way. Historically, Scala plugin has a man-made parser. The first revision was implemented in 2008, and it was 8 years ago, and the number of features that were added to Scala doesn't make it better. But nowadays it's much more useful to use, much more common to use parser generators, something like ANTLR in Java world, something like GrammarKit in IDEA world, and I decided to give A until R a trie. This approach has several advantages. Well, greater performance, errorless in some kind, and the uniformity. Now we have no opportunity to generate code of syntax analysis just from the grammar, but with Intel there is such an opportunity, and the parser for Dotty will be generated, and Dotty parser for Scala will be generated straightforward. But the disadvantages of this approach is that why mess with success? We have already a very good parser, and it's quite arguable about should we do this or not. But now we have an extended version of our man-made parser that gives an opportunity to support dialects, for example, Dotty or even subscript. So maybe if you would like to create some Scala-like language, you can give support for it in IntelliJ. So, and about our future plans, what is coming soon. The first feature is trade parameters. It's under the construction right now, so we will release it, as I said, a few weeks from now. So the next feature is multiversal equality. That is very interesting that we have this feature already in our plugin, but we can include it in builds only after we would be done with the type system. So inspections and quick fixes. Oh, okay. I'll show you one inspection and quick fix that we have already implemented, and we'd like to create a Scala to Dotty migration tool. I think it would be available only after the official release of Dotty to give developers an opportunity to migrate their code, because there is a problem of backwards compatibility between Scala and Dotty. There is no backwards compatibility, so you can write it. You can implement your code for Dotty with your hands, but would like to give you an opportunity to do it automatically. So, excuse me, I would like to about quick, I forgot to show you a quick fix. So when you write in Scala something like this, okay. So you can replace it with ampersand, because compound type was deprecated in Dotty, and you need to write something like this, the intersection type. And back to our presentation. Okay. So, and that's all I wanted to tell you about today. I think we've got some. I think you've got some questions, and we've got plenty of time for them. If you don't want to ask questions right here, you can reach me, of course, on the JetBrains desk. But do you have any questions? Anybody? Yeah.
So from what I understand, like official Dotty release will be like a year from now or more.
Yeah, yeah.
So why you started so early, and even like plans for migration till right now?
Yeah, thank you for your question. The answer is something like that. Dotty has Dotty type system has a lot of differences with the Scala one. I mean, a lot of them. So it would have already taken a lot of time to adapt our plugin. It would take a lot of time to continue with it, and so we need a lot of time to re-implement the type system, because one of the greatest things in Scala in general is the type system. So we have spent a lot of time to implement the Scala one in our plugin to make it great, and most of the features that you can use in our plugin, refactorings, code completion, and something like that. Everything uses type system, because there is a lot of information about types, and we need to implement it for Dotty to make these features work. So, okay, yeah.
Why, or maybe you are using it, are you using some parts of the Dotty compiler to help you with type inference and type conformance analysis?
Yeah. Okay, thank you for your question. No, as I mentioned, you got no opportunity to use the compiler. There is an internal joke in JetBrains that we've got something like 7 products, and every product has half of the compiler inside it. So we have written something like 3.5 of compilers. Why don't we use the compiler? Because IntelliJ is the IDE. So an IDE uses much more information about code than the compiler. You need much more links between elements, and the compiler doesn't have these links because of the performance. And the example of this, for example, maybe you know Kotlin, and Kotlin is developed with one team, the compiler and the plugin for it. So they had this problem that they have compiler in their project, but they cannot use it straightforward because of the performance. Compiler doesn't need all of this information. So is it clear?
Yes, that's clear. However, I wonder, maybe do you get at least some support from the Dotty compiler team or from the Scala compiler team to help you with getting things right? I'm the heavy user of your current Scala plugin. And I must say there are still some differences between how the plugin infers types, for example, or how it. There are still a few cases where it gets it wrong. So yeah. I wonder, why don't you cooperate more closely with the compiler team?
We have some kind of cooperation, but I cannot say that we work together. But there is some kind of cooperation. Sometimes we have better support of Scala. Well, the problem is that Scala has a documentation, an official documentation, and sometimes we have bugs, sometimes compiler have bugs. So, and there are examples when our plugin worked better than the compiler. So, and something like that applies to Dotty. Maybe with the new implementation, the actual result would be better and for our plugin and for the compiler itself. I think something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. It's a well-known issue that currently you don't support a Scala plugin and Dotty plugin at the same time in the same system. Is it coming in a new release or it's in your backlog to support both of them?
Excuse me,
to install Dotty plugin into my IntelliJ IDEA system, I had to uninstall Scala plugin because they kind of conflicting with each other. Is it in your backlog at least?
There is, in general, there is no Dotty plugin because there is only one plugin, the Scala plugin, that now supports 2 languages. So to use Dotty inside of it, you need to install the nightly build. Yeah, but it's not the new plugin. It's a new version of this old plugin.
I had to first install the first one, Scala plugin.
Yeah.
Let me add some more information about why we don't use Scala compiler as a presentation compiler. The differences between the first important difference is that we are an IDE, so we need to check local changes, and the compiler has to compile hold the project all together. So for performance reasons, IDE and compiler is different things, and we are doing resolving reference completely differently. So we do it from the reference to the declaration, and compilers always do it from the declaration to the reference. So that's the main difference, and it's really important. So, and to be more efficient and more adapted to do different refactorings and different things, we need to do things also differently. So it's very important. That's the reason why we do our own implementation of Analyzer. And we don't work together on the same code base with Scala compiler team because it's two different projects, and it's hard to work on 2 projects, 2 complicated projects actually. So our cooperation is in such a way that if they do new features, they will inform us before they'll release these new features, and we will have plenty of time to re-implement the same feature in our IDE. So, and also we can share some bugs in compiler. So we have a lot of cooperations on more higher level, and it's very good. So really thanks to Scala compiler team. Yeah, thank you.
So just to follow up on the question before and this discussion, are you guys what are your strategies to actually make sure that they're on par? Are you going to keep the same strategy that you're using for the Scala plugin, or do you have any ideas of doing some more, making better sure that they are producing the same results? Just curious if you're trying new strategies to make them stay the same with Dotty, maybe the plugin, or am I unclear?
Excuse me, could you...
Are you going to try any new strategies to make sure that the Dotty plugin stays on par with the Dotty compiler? Or is the plan to use the same strategies that you've been doing with the Scala plugin?
Yeah, we've got no opportunity to use compiler at all. No. There is, we know that there is no other strategy. That's the fact. If I understood the...
Now there are some false positive and false negative in the IntelliJ plugin. So what is your strategy to try to minimize this difference?
Okay. The strategy is to this is the slide about strategy in general. IntelliJ IDEA has its own open API. So because the architecture of the IntelliJ gives us an opportunity to support a lot of languages. So we decided to extract some API in our own plugin. And we extracted some interfaces for some compiler phases. And now we have implementation for Scala and for Dotty. Okay, is it clear? Okay.
More than the social strategy, maybe to ask the community to test something else.
Okay, we'll think about it.
Yeah, so following this discussion, because I think that that's a very good question. So how are you making sure, how are you testing your Scala plugin and then Dotty plugin that it conforms to the specification? I think that the Scala compiler and the Dotty compiler has a very big, very huge set of tests, their own probably unit tests and also functional tests. So it seems, at least to me, it looks like it should be fairly straightforward to run the Scala compiler or Dotty compiler tests on your code on the IDE Scala plugin internals, particularly because you have the API extracted. So like taking all the Scala or Dotty examples and trying to compile it with your plugin code and to see if it compiles properly without any warnings or red underlines.
Yeah.
So are you planning to do that, or are you maybe doing this already?
Yeah, the only tests for Dotty now at the moment are compiler tests. So, but for Scala there are a lot of there are much more tests, and not only that were influenced by the compiler test, but from our own bugs and something like that.
I can add more about it. That we have and know plenty of things what to do. So we know a lot of errors and problems to fix them. So and of course the next step would be to reuse lots of community projects, so we can just check community project that it's okay with compiler, and then check to community project that it's okay with our analyzer. So it will be the next step, and of course we will have the it's quite simple and straightforward ideas, so definitely want that. And we are more close to this step because we are reducing number of errors from every year, and I hope that it's really became better and better every month. I hope for that. So.
Yeah, and there is another problem that there is only one project in Dotty at the moment. It's Dotty compiler itself. But they don't use a lot of Dotty features, so it's Scala project. But so there is no example of real Dotty project that has a lot of feature inside of it that we can see, try it, and find some bugs, because Dotty is not the Dotty compiler is not yet re-implemented with Dotty in general. There are some features that they use, but not a lot of them. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
Okay, so one more, but a different topic. So you said that the type system in Dotty is simpler, and some features of the type system has been unified. How do you perceive that? Is it going to make it easier for you to make the performance of the Dotty plugin better than the performance of the Scala analysis, or would it be mostly the same?
I think, and I hope that the performance of the Dotty plugin would be better because of that, the simplified type system. Yes, there are a lot. The typer in compiler itself and our plugin, it takes a lot of time during the work of the plugin. For example, the percent of the type inference is very high. So because of the simpler type system, this phase of the compilation, the type inference, should be actually should have better performance in some way. But I cannot say yet that it would be something on the new level. I don't think so. But maybe the performance would be better, improved, yeah. Okay. Anything else? So, okay, I think that's all for today. Thank you for your time.